Hi everyone, so today I've got another authentication video for you, and today's video is going to be on one of my favourite brands, which is Christian Louboutin. Now, I absolutely adore Christian Louboutin shoes. They're just so well crafted, they're so well made, and the red sole is just amazing, and I think that's why we all love them. So the story goes, Christian Louboutin was actually working on a pair of shoes, and his assistant was painting nails at the time in a red nail polish, and that's what gave him the idea to paint the soles red. So I'm going to give you a few tips today on how to authenticate your Christian Louboutin shoes or shoes that you might be looking at purchasing, and if you follow these tips then hopefully it will help you. So the first thing that we can look at is actually the box itself. So if you look at the box, you can hopefully see that it's in this kind of like golden brown biscuity kind of colour. I'm not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but it should be almost like a bit of a darker brown. I've seen on many fakes that the box colour is actually too light, so it's more of like a beigey brown instead of a dark brown. So that's one of the first things that you can do to look at. The box itself as well should be really sturdy, so you should be able to like give it a good squeeze and a good batter around. It shouldn't really move. Like you can see, I'm pushing it with quite a lot of weight here and it's not budging. A lot of the fake boxes are made from very, very poor quality cardboard, which means that they basically just sink and break quite easily. If you're looking at a pair of used Christian Louboutin shoes and the box is a bit battered, it doesn't necessarily mean that the box or the shoes inside are fake, but it just means that it's unlikely that the box would be that battered, and it must have been, you know, kind of stored with something heavy on top of it or something like that, because these boxes are pretty indestructible. The other thing that you can note on the box is the actual texture of it as well. So if we run our hands across the box like this, it actually has a bit of a texture to it. It's almost a little bit like, kind of like corrugated cardboard. I don't know if you can see. It's not like hugely indented, it's just like slightly indented, so it does have like a little bit of a rough kind of feel to it. Also the embossing as well, the white lettering, it should feel like, hopefully you can hear that, that's me running my fingers over it. It does have like a bit of a smooth texture to it. Again, it's like embossed on top of the box, so it shouldn't be printed on, and all of this shouldn't feel smooth. So that's one thing that you can look out for if you're buying the shoes in person. Another thing that you can look at is the actual labelling on the box as well. So I don't know if you can see there, but this logo here should be really crisp and clear, and it just has the barcode and the name of the product on the top there. I'll try and show you that in a bit more detail. On some of the fakes as well, I've seen pictures of the shoes actually on this box, like an outline of the shoe. They don't do that on Louboutin boxes, so that's obviously not correct. And then inside the box, you should get a little dust bag like this. I've seen many fakes that have two of these, so one for each shoe. That's not correct. These are actually one for both pairs of shoes, and both shoes fit quite nicely in there as well. I'll try and show you. Hopefully you can see both shoes quite nicely fitting in there. So this bag is made from cotton, and it should feel quite soft. It shouldn't feel coarse, and it shouldn't have like wide kind of holes where it's been made, if that makes sense, in the fabric. So quite often I see these made out of like canvasy material, which obviously have like big like gaping holes where the bag's been made quite cheaply. They shouldn't have this, so I'm trying to show you what it looks like. It's quite a high kind of like thread count, and it's like brushed cotton as well, so it feels really soft, and hopefully you can see where it's being brushed there. I don't know how well that's picking it up. I think you can just see there. And also the stitching on these is really, really neat and really, really tidy. So again, hopefully you can see how it's stitched on the top there. And again, with the fakes, quite often it's quite shoddily stitched and the stitches are quite far apart, so it shouldn't look like that. Similarly with the string, it's almost like, kind of like a really thin kind of rope. And again, on some of the fakes I've seen this is quite thick and quite kind of cheap feeling. This feels really, really soft, so the thread that they've used is still good quality thread, and like I said, it's quite thin. It's not really thick and really clunky. And then the lettering as well should be in black lettering. And again, it should be really crisp, and it should feel a little bit different to the brushed cotton because this has been actually printed onto the cotton, so it should feel a little bit rougher when you rub your finger over it. Also in the box you should get some spare heels for the shoes, and these come in another little bag which is very similar to the other bag. It's the same fabric, it's been stitched in the same way, and again the string is the same. And inside here you should get the spare heels just by themselves, so they shouldn't be in a plastic bag or anything like that. I don't know how well I'm showing that to you. Yeah, they shouldn't be in like a plastic bag or anything like that. They should just be loose inside the little bag there. And then you should also get a card like this which tells you how to look after the shoes, with the little red sole on the back. And this is made from kind of like quite a nice feeling card, like textured card. It's not like a cheap flimsy piece of paper. The tissue paper inside should also be plain as well. So I'll try and show you. It's just plain white, creamy kind of coloured paper. There's no Christine Louboutin logo on there, nothing embossed. It is literally just plain paper. So now we've talked about the packaging, let's talk about the shoes. So the first thing that I look for on the shoes when I'm authenticating a pair of Louboutins is actually the stitching. So I'll try and show you a bit closer. But if we look at the stitching all along the edge there, you can see how like tightly stitched it is. All very, very neatly done. And you know what, these shoes, and this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love Louboutins, is how well crafted they are. It's incredible. They're so well made. And that's one of the ways why these are so easy to authenticate, because a lot of the fakes just aren't well made. So as you can see on the inside, hopefully as well, there's no stitches coming undone there. They're all still very consistently, very tightly stitched all the way around. And a lot of the fakes, they just can't get that right. Another thing that we can look for is the actual shape here, where it goes up into the heel. And as you can hopefully see, I'll try and get out of the shot. As you can hopefully see, that is absolutely flawless, the way that it's been done, and the shape that it is. And on a lot of the fakes, they can't get this right. They can't get that smooth curve right, and they quite often, it's quite bumpy, or it's been cut badly, where it's been made. With the actual real deal, there's nothing like that. Another thing that they can get wrong with the fakes as well is the actual soles. So the soles of these are leather, and hopefully you can see that because it's quite shiny. And because it's leather, it does mean that when you've worn it only a few times, you do get this kind of situation occurring. These particular shoes are from my own collection, and I think I've worn them about 3 times in total. And you can see there that they're quite battered on the bottom. That's completely normal. Like I said, it's leather, it's the leather soles, and they're painted leather, which just means that this red coating is paint, and it just means that it does come off quite easily. You can get them repaired. I think the Handbag Clinic do a repair on them. I'll try and find out a link below if you're interested in that. But a lot of the fakes are made with plastic, and it's quite often like from a resin kind of plastic, so they can be quite dull instead of shiny. And also it just means that when they've been worn, that the red doesn't go away as easily, and they don't look as kind of battered, I suppose, as that. So if you're buying some pre-loved ones that have been worn quite a few times and that hasn't occurred, unless the person that's selling them has had them repaired, that shouldn't happen. It should look like this. Another thing to note as well on the bottom is the stamping itself. Hopefully you can see how clean and crisp that is. On a lot of the fakes it's quite blotchy, and they quite often get this wrong. Another thing to note, if you're buying a half size, so this particular one isn't a half size, it's 37, but let's say for argument's sake it was a 37.5, it wouldn't say 37.5 on the bottom, it would say 37.5 written with like the 1 over the 2, and quite a lot of the fakes will put 0.5 as a half size. That's wrong, they've never done that. Another thing that they stopped doing back in 2007 was putting Vero Curo on the bottom under Made in Italy. So if you're looking at a more recent style, or a newer, I suppose a newer shoe, so for example if the person you're buying it from is saying that they're only a few years old, for example, and it says Vero Curo underneath, yeah, that's not right. It wouldn't say that on post 2007 shoes. One final thing that we can look at is the actual toes themselves as well. So these particular ones kind of go in like an almond kind of toe shape. Hopefully you can see how beautiful that's been finished. It's not clumpy, it's not boxy, there's not a huge kind of like piece of fabric here. It's been cut so beautifully, and on a lot of the fakes they look quite clumpy and they just can't get the cut of these right, which kind of goes back to me saying that these are just so well made, and they just can't fake that. They really struggle to fake that. I've seen so many bad Louboutin fakes. I don't think I've ever seen a good pair of Louboutin fakes ever. But yeah, that's another thing to look at. One more thing actually I've just thought of is on the inside. So it's always stamped Christian Louboutin. Hopefully you can see that. These particular ones say Paris underneath. Now not all of them do say Paris underneath, so don't panic if it doesn't say that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fake. But yeah, again, it should be really kind of clean and really crisp. Hopefully you can see how clean and crisp that is. There's no blotchiness. And it's also quite well centered, so I'll try and show you. You can kind of see that there's the same amount of fabric between here and there where it's been stamped. And the inner sole itself is actually quite padded. And again, the inner sole is leather. And it's also really hard to kind of like get this out. See, I'm trying to pull it out and it's just not budging. So it's quite well kind of, I suppose it'll be glued down. Yeah. It's quite well glued down there. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, that kind of does it, and I hope that was useful. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. There'll be lots more to come, and yeah, if you need any help with any authentication, then I'll link my website down below. It's coutureauthentication.com. We are a group of authenticators who are hugely passionate about authenticating luxury products. We've got a lot of experience between us, and hopefully if you've got any questions we can help you. Our prices do start from very reasonable prices, so don't hesitate to get in touch and we'll do what we can to help. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope it's been useful, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.